Hey everybody. I don't know if you guys can hear me on this or not. Let me know if you can or can't. Um, just write in the comment. Can you hear me? And you know, so today what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of post production on these images we shot yesterday of a wine bottle. Yeah, still not seeing stuff. Okay. Anyway, Um, so we're gonna go over some post-production tips on these wine bottles. When I shot them yesterday, I shot them pretty neutrally because like I wanted to have as much information to work with these images because you can get things get pretty rough with white and black backdrops, especially white backdrops if you're trying to have any sort of depth. Um, all right, so let's take a look at a couple of these images that I have here, and then I'll show you the selected images, and I'll tell you why I selected them. So this was actually a test image that we did at first. You can kind of see the backdrop up here, and you can see, or the backdrop bar, I guess, but you can see the backdrop literally the rest of the way, and the shadows cast by the wine bottle and that sort of thing. This was one of the first images I took, so it was before I finalized my lighting. So this image is a fine starting point to kind of see scale, what the shadows are doing, that sort of thing. But let's go back to Bridge here. Oh yeah, so I am using Adobe Bridge and Photoshop, and to edit the images, or at the very least, one of these images, I'll be using Camera Raw only to do, because not all images need to be brought into Photoshop unless you're doing like crazy like retouching or compositing or that sort of thing. So anyway, here is an image that was part of the testing phase as well. It's too bright, obviously. Yeah, way too bright. Highlights all blown out. Background is nice and white, but as you can see, the label is gone. The edges of the bottle are gone. That's no good. This one is too dark. As you can see, it's just way too dark. All right, so then we get a little closer with the shadow on the other side down here. You can see that I have like the key light on this side, which you can actually see in the wine bottle. These highlights are of different lights we have. This key light is brighter than that light, which I would generally be a little pickier about, but in this case, I'm not too concerned about getting this completely perfect at the moment. But if I was shooting this for a client, yeah, these highlights would be the same. Now the difference here, I wanted to show you guys my references really quick. So this is my white wine bottle reference image. It's not bad. It's let's see if I can make that big. Yeah. It's that's the goal we want to get to. Okay. So let's make that a little bit smaller here. So then what I ended up choosing for the final image is this guy right here, because we still have just barely some background detail, but the highlights are still pretty bright, and you get some nice catch light here on the sides. Then for the black image, we kind of started. Oh, actually, let me show you what happens when you take a picture with strobe, and the strobe or the shutter speed is faster than how the strobe is firing. So basically, strobes for a lot of older power packs, can only see light up to like 250th of a second. Shutter speed. This is a result of that happening. You only see half the image, and it's just, obviously it's not usable. All right, so let's go over to the black image, which we used a black backdrop. So this is a bit dark for what I was going for, but again, like darkness in this case isn't necessarily a bad thing. We just want to make sure we keep our highlights intact. I would have loved to shoot a bottle that was a little closer to my reference image, which is this guy right here. Oops. But as you can see, that sometimes does not go the way you want. All right. Yeah, so not bad. Again, like we're kind of seeing the main difference here is on a reference image. You're seeing like some highlights from some lights in the front. I chose not to light on the front. I wanted to focus on the rear highlights over here on the back because I like that nice outline you can make. Also, it would have lit up the label too much because I didn't peel the label off of my bottle because I guess I'm fancy like that. All right. So the black backdrop wine bottle will kind of be the easiest one to work on. So let's just go ahead and open these in Camera Raw. So what I've got here is I'm going to lower all my my darks and like all the black that is detected by Photoshop. I'm going to lower all the blacks there, and then I'm going to pump up the exposure a little bit to make the highlights really pop. Am I not seeing the preview now? There we go. Again, I'm sorry if I don't talk 100% of the time because it is kind of a, we do kind of get into a focus mode when doing this. So up the clarity a little bit, we're getting these nice highlights around the edges of the wine. And again, sorry about the label, but we were planning on drinking this wine and we like to be proper in our wine drinking etiquette. So something else I want to make sure that I do properly, depending on what you're using the final image for, it's good to make sure that you're in the proper color space, which you can see down here. It says sRGB IE61 blah, blah, blah. So this is a fine color space if you're using the images for web. But since we're going to use these for print, I'm going to change my color space to a print color space, which in this case we're going to use Adobe RGB, or ProPhoto is fine too. I haven't actually done my own printing in a long time, so maybe the printers can see a larger gamut of colors now than they could before. But for our purposes, we're going to use RGB, Adobe RGB 1998 today. Now you don't actually see anything there, but it's kind of it does make a difference. Because when you view images on the web and you ever see an image that's like supposed to be bright and colorful, but it's like looks kind of muddy or kind of like muted in the color, that's why, because it was put in the wrong color space. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'm just going to get rid of a couple of spots on the wine glass here. You can take a look at all of our stuff and go back and forth. It's quite a difference already. I just want to make sure we have everything else covered well. Yeah, so this image is essentially ready to be passed out to the client. At the very least as a draft, because like people always want to change things and add their own stuff. There might be a graphic or something that goes up here because like, you know, a logo, I guess. All right, so then if we hop over to our white image, you can see this this red down here. It actually indicates areas that are very close to, if not pure white completely. So we can adjust some of that down a little bit just to kind of give us a little more room to work because we don't want stuff to be purely white. What I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust contrast here so the wine bottle really pops. We're still getting highlights down here, but that is just fine. I'm going to do my spot adjustment brush and just kind of knock out its background. You can't see that. Let's pump that. So again, the red means that it is just pure white. And I will take that away in a moment so that we can see the final image. But this helps me edit the images where I need them to be. I'm not going to do too much on the bottom here because I actually want to bring back some of the backdrop to give it a little like a base to stand on. All right, so let's turn off our highlight indicator. So as you can see, that is pure white now. We'll bring down some of the highlights a little bit because we're losing some of the label, the edge of the label and the edge of the bottle right here. So maybe what I'll do is I'll make another adjustment. Bring down some of the highlights on the label. Just so that we can see, or you might not even be able to see the subtle difference on your end. I'm sorry about that if you can't. Starting to go a little bit better, yeah. So this isn't, exactly perfect, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just adjust contrast a little bit more here so the label really pops, the bottle really pops. Let's do a little bit of color as well. Yeah, Candle Jackson's looking tasty. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to crop this image, just a regular old crop right here. And so this is kind of a super simple, basic retouch. I don't want to spend tons of time on this, obviously. So my cat is here bugging me at the moment. All right, so the bottle, this is very close. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop over to the other fun image, that one. Yeah. That again, that blue indicates pure shadow or pure black. So this is what it looks like. Is going to look like from the perspective of the client. All right. So I'm gonna. I think. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save these images for print, and these are going to pop up right over here. We're going to put these in my folder that I have set up for this, and let's select the folder. Okay. I'm going to keep our original file name because we're not really doing much with this anyway. Make sure to save in the proper color space because again, this is going to be for print. So we're going to save in the same color space, WRGB 1998, as if we were working it down here, because that's going to be the better way to do that. And then we're going to save in the maximum quality size, and we're going to save in a JPEG. JPEGs are able to be viewed by pretty much everyone that has a computer. Like JPEGs are what Windows uses, what Mac uses, and they're all just image files. And so again, we're going to do max quality on these WRGB. We want to not adjust the size. It's just going to export directly as the size that my camera does by default, which is, I believe, it says right here, 5025 by 7537 pixels at 300 ppi, which is what we want, 300 ppi, because that's highest quality for print. You can change your depth, color depth, to 16 bits sometimes. I have to set that up my raw file because I didn't do that this time. I just forgot. So we're going to save that out, save those out like that. And then we're going to change our color space to sRGB. In school, we called it shitty RGB because it looks like shit on anything else you put it on except for the internet, because it's designed for the internet. You should not print with this. It will look terrible. Save these images. Once again, you want to resize these to a more web-friendly size. The smaller you make it, the faster to load and stuff. These are being resized to 1600 at their widest and 1600 pixels at their highest or wide. Yeah, 1600 by 1600. Not square, just at the widest or highest point. Make sure you change your color space here again as well, so you don't. I don't know why it does that. Just I think it's a blessing and a curse. And then I'm going to change the name. Just going to do and serial number. And then once all that is good, we have our color space covered, we have our renaming, we have our format, and our size. That's all we got to do. So let's click down here. So I've got those two selected. As you can see, these are our retouched images we shot yesterday. This situation where I just did the same bottle of wine in just two different ways is kind of what doesn't usually happen like this when you're shooting product, because a lot of clients will have you just shoot a ton of stuff. If they have you for the day and they pay you for the day, they're going to have you shoot a ton of stuff. So normally this process would take longer, but you would shoot it in a way that it would be easy for you to like mass retouch a lot of things. And so in this case, if I shot everything on white or everything on black, or even if I just did half and half like I did with the stream yesterday, you can see how it would be easy for me to just like knock all this out, like sync up all the images and all the retouches so that it just goes real easy for me, which is kind of ideal because, you know, these can take a lot of time otherwise, especially if you're dealing with def spots. As you can see that right here, actually, you probably can't see it. There's a little bit of, I think it's a water spot on the glass, maybe a little bit over here, which you can clean some of that up with post-production. Ideally, though, you would do that during the shoot. You want to capture as much in camera as you possibly can. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is our before. Before we retouch right here, quite a difference. And after, you can see there's a lot more color. Crop is better. There's a little bit of bleed going on over here with when we knock out the backdrop like that, but it's not a big concern of mine at the moment because this is just for the stream. And speaking of that, there's also other ways that you can select your product or your object in your image that you want to have on just a white background, which is known as the, let me just open one for you. You can do a couple things to select, like you can use the magnetic lasso tool that I know is a popular one. I don't use these tools a lot because I'm not shooting product that often. So like my selects can be a bit more loose. As you can see, it just sticks to the edge of the product. It works off contrast, and as a result, it can also be kind of a pain. Yeah, it does not like edges that are similar color like that. But yeah, it works off contrast and that sort of thing. And as you can, what it'll do is it'll eventually show you, I don't know if you can see the dotted lines there, but it'll show you what you've selected, and then you can, knock that out or create new layers. Let me just give you an example really quick. Let's do a brightness contrast level. So yeah. So as you can see, I can adjust that without adjusting the rest of the image. But I'm not going to do that today because it's not really what we're doing. I don't shoot wine bottles that often. Like I said, the last one I shot for real and really put my all into it was in school. But I have worked on a couple shoots for wine bottles as an assistant and whatnot. And it can really take a lot of effort. And even this, I think, any of the photographers that I worked with in the past would probably criticize me on a couple things, and rightfully so. This is not my specialty, once again. As you can see right in here, there's a big highlight on the side, which I probably could have avoided if I just moved my lights. If I didn't have my, that's probably from the big light that I had behind the bottle. So if we just lit it from the front with the big strip lights, we would have avoided that. But I wanted to have a shadow on the bottom of the bottle right here, which you can see. So yeah, there's always a reason. And there's a reason, once again, that I'm not strictly a product photographer. So that's an image that I really like, that I'm happy with. I think that most clients, photographers, people that are, pushing their wine and stuff, I think they would be happy with that a lot of times. And it's just a real simple setup, but once again, it kind of comes down to volume, because by the time they hire a photographer, they're going to have, 50 or 100 bottles for you to shoot. And, they all have different labels. They all have different colors on them. So what I did in an hour could easily expand to 10, 12 hours, So that's pretty typical with commercial photography. So this about wraps it up for me. And this is kind of a short stream today. But good news, I think tomorrow, Lauren has off from work because I guess it's Good Friday. My friends in Wisconsin know all about having Good Friday off. So she is going to be home, and I think I've roped her into being a model. So instead of shooting like something else or food or something tomorrow, I think I'm going to do a portrait. But we're going to do a headshot, businessy type of portrait, and then we're going to do like a bit more of an artistic portrait. I haven't completely decided what that's going to be yet, but I'm working on it. So headshot, and then like an artsy fartsy picture. I've been doing a lot of this lately. Thanks for watching. This is kind of fun for me. It's been nice to chat with all you guys and kind of talk about my craft. That helps. I'm not always the most articulate with it because so much of it is just kind of in my mind. I don't talk about it that much, but I think it does help to talk about it. So thank you. We're going to close that out. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you hopefully tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Thanks a lot. Bye.